Hello and welcome to WinSQL online tutorial from Synametrics Technologies. My name is Eric and I'm going to demonstrate some basic features of WinSQL. Particularly, we will be discussing running SQL queries by creating new scripts and opening existing script files, submitting multiple queries and fetching their results, and exploring the database catalog. Before digging into the actual demo, I'd like to give you an overview of WinSQL. WinSQL is a generic querying tool that connects to any relational database for which an ODBC driver is available. Almost every relational database these days support ODBC specifications, and therefore you can connect to all of them. So now let's get started and connect to a live database. In this example, I'm going to connect to an Oracle 10G database. When I first start WinSQL, it displays this connection window, which contains a list of available data sources. These are the names of all registered data sources on my machine. Each data source points to a different database. This tutorial assumes that you already know how to create a data source for your desired backend database. If you are not familiar with creating data sources, there are several tutorials on our website that talk about this step. To connect to Oracle, I simply provide a user ID, password, and select an appropriate database type from this pick list. Selecting a database type specifies the type of plugin I wish to use in WinSQL. I check this box if I want all transactions to commit automatically. If I run WinSQL in manual commit mode by unchecking this box, I must either commit or roll back every SQL statement manually. I check this box to enable catalog caching. Caching is very useful if I'm connecting to a large database with thousands of tables, or if my database is located on a remote or slow network. Database caching saves tremendous amounts of network traffic since WinSQL does not have to go back and forth to the database to fetch metadata information. When caching is enabled, WinSQL will always load the catalog once connection is established. If I decide to disable caching, I have a choice of loading the catalog at startup by checking this box here. Several features in WinSQL require the catalog information loaded in memory before they work. For example, the IntelliTips and the drill down features, which we'll be discussing in this demo, require a preloaded catalog of the database. Once satisfied with all the values, click OK to connect. Notice that for a brief moment, I may see a message saying loading catalog from cache. This is when it actually reads and loads the catalog information in memory. After connecting to the database, I can either write new queries or load a pre-existing script. The easiest way to load a script is by dragging a file from Windows Explorer to the query editor in WinSQL. Another way to load a pre-existing file is by clicking the Open Scripts button or using the File menu. Once a script is open, I can either run all queries at once or selectively run just one query by highlighting the SQL and clicking the Play button. Notice the presence of the word Go here. This word is used as a query terminator in WinSQL, and it separates one query from another. At runtime, WinSQL sends multiple chunks of this script to the database where each chunk is delimited by this query terminator. In this example, WinSQL will break the script into 3 parts and send each part separately. When the results come back, I see 3 tabs, each displaying the result of a query. Notice the result sets are displayed here. All 3 tabs contain a hand icon, but only 2 are enabled. An enabled icon indicates that the result set is editable, and I can double-click a row to bring up the update wizard that allows me to change the data if desired. The Record Update wizard is a convenient way of modifying any existing data. It displays the existing values and allows me to type the new value right next to it. As I type in the new value, WinSQL generates the necessary update statement required to make the change. After entering all desired values, I click Execute to run this statement. When the window is closed, WinSQL updates the result grid with the new value. Notice that the second Results tab is not editable. This is because the query that generated this result came from multiple tables using a join statement. Whenever I have a join, the result set becomes read-only. Besides displaying the results in a grid control, I have a choice of displaying the results in a text or in a form-like window. If I display the results in text, it cannot be edited. However, if I want to display a large text, it is much better to see it in text rather than grid. I can also display results in a form-like window. Editing a result in a form is very easy. I simply start typing my new values and either hit Enter or click the Save button to save the record. I would hit the Escape key to abort any changes. Keep in mind that only certain result sets are editable. For example, the results are not editable if they are generated from stored procedure or using a join statement. As I work with more scripts, I may run out of room in this query window. To avoid this cluttering, WinSQL offers a feature called Query Pages. To create a new query page, simply click on New Query Page button. Notice that I now have another query page listed in the Available Query Pages combo box. I'm going to open another scripted file in this page and then run those queries. The Message tab displays additional information about the queries that were recently run. In this case, I see the number of records returned. If a query returns an error message, this is where it gets displayed. To switch back to the previous query page, I select the desired page from the Available Query Pages combo box, and WinSQL will take me to that page. Notice that the result sets are also moved along with the script, and there is no limit on how many query pages I create. Typically, before running queries, I need information about the objects in my database. This information is also called the database catalog, and exploring this information is very easy in WinSQL. Starting from WinSQL 6.5, I have a choice of displaying part of the catalog right next to the Query tab or in its own tab. When the catalog is displayed next to the Query tab, it is called the Integrated View. If I wish to display the catalog in its own tab, I can select it from the View menu, and now it will display the catalog in a separate tab. The Classic View provides more room for me to write and modify scripts, while the Integrated View provides the convenience of looking at the objects as I type my queries. For the purpose of this demo, I am going to use the Integrated View. Database Catalog is displayed in a hierarchical manner using a tree view control. I can expand any node to further drill down on an object. The catalog displays tables, system tables, views, stored procedures, and many other database-specific objects. For example, since I am connected to an Oracle database, I can see objects like packages and sequences that may not be available for other databases. By clicking any table, I can see additional information about it. These details include fields, indices, and triggers. In case of triggers, WinSQL displays the actual script that is used to create that trigger. I can click the Browse Data node and have WinSQL display the contents of the table. This Browse Data feature is very powerful and extremely convenient even for novice users to easily see and change data. When I click the right mouse button in the Browse Data grid, WinSQL displays a pop-up menu which allows me to copy data to the clipboard, search within the grid, update, insert, or delete records, or print the contents of the grid. I can also apply filters on this Browse Data grid. This way I can restrict the number of records that gets displayed in this grid. I can double-click any row to bring up the Record Update wizard. This is a similar wizard that is used to modify result sets, and it can generate SQL statements as I type in the values. This wizard is also very handy if I need to upload a binary or large text file to the database. For example, I can upload a JPEG image for this particular employee by selecting a file from Windows Explorer and then letting WinSQL run the query. Once a binary file is inserted, I can reload the table content and look at the inserted data. Notice that binary and large field are displayed only when I click on this zoom icon, which brings up a window that allows me to see binary data in different formats. By clicking on the Manage Relationship icon, I can see design of any backend database. For example, when I click the Employee table, I can see that it is related to orders and emp salary table. If I double-click on the orders table, WinSQL will redraw the diagram, but this time showing relationships with respect to the orders table. It is important that WinSQL knows about the relationships between the tables. This information is used not only to create the join statements in the IntelliTips window, but also to display the drill-down results. Often, databases do not have relationships explicitly defined among the objects. This could happen if the backend does not support it or is done by design. In those cases, I can define a local relationship in WinSQL. Local relationships only affect WinSQL without changing the backend database design. The Relationship Manager displays local relationships in red, while remote relationships are displayed in black. To add a local relationship, I can click this Add Relationship button. Besides tables, I could also see the available views in the database. Just like tables, I can see the fields for a view and click the Browse Data node to see the data returned. By clicking the view DDL, I can see the script that was used to create this view. Similarly, I can see information about stored procedures. Look at the parameters it expects and even look at the script used to create a procedure. If I need to run a procedure, I can use the Stored Procedure wizard that comes with WinSQL. Using this wizard, I can capture all input-output parameters, result sets, and any returned value for that procedure. Now let's come back to writing and executing SQL statements. Earlier I showed you how to open script files and run them. I will now write some new queries and see how WinSQL assists users to efficiently write SQL statements. For that, I'm going to create a new query page and write a select statement. Notice that as I type the script, WinSQL parses the text in the background and brings up the objects that I can use in a from clause. The program is smart enough to know when to bring up table names, field names, or data for a field. Therefore, when I need to type a field in the where clause, it parses the current statement to see which tables are being used and populates the IntelliTips window with the fields for these tables. I can select multiple entries from the IntelliTips window by holding the Control key and finally hitting Enter on the keyboard. When multiple entries are selected, WinSQL will put each entry separated by the comma. Notice that if I have a query that joins two tables, WinSQL is able to recognize this join and display appropriate where clauses. Besides table and field names, WinSQL can also bring up data that I can use in the where clause. This feature is called data lookup, and I can tweak the settings in WinSQL that define what gets displayed in the data lookup screen. When I run a query involving only one table, WinSQL may display some of the columns in a different color. In this example, I see that the first column is displayed in red. This signifies that this row contains the primary key for this table. If I click on the plus sign for any cell, WinSQL will bring up the associated record from the related table. If there is more than one table, a pop-up menu is displayed for me to select an entry. For example, here I can pick either the emp salary or the orders table. When I select the orders table, WinSQL runs another query and brings back all the orders placed by this employee. If a column is displayed in blue, that means a foreign key relationship exists, and by clicking the plus sign, WinSQL brings up the associated records. For example, if I click a customer ID, WinSQL will bring back the customer who placed this order. This feature is called Drill Down Results. This concludes the online tutorial showing some basic features of WinSQL. I highly recommend that you spend a moment and take a look at some other tutorials on our website that talk about some advanced features like importing and exporting data and generating test data for your development environment. Thank you for watching this tutorial and have a nice day.